Good morning. I'm John Bitson, the Menard Family Director of the Sheila and Robert Challey Institute for Global Innovation and Growth. This morning, I'd like to introduce you to Thomas Krumel. Thomas is an economist, an assistant professor of economics at NDSU, and a faculty scholar at the Challey Institute. Welcome, Thomas.
Hi, John. Thanks so much for having me to talk about my research today.
Yeah, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. So you have a lot of very interesting research, Thomas, related to labor demand, regional economic development, and employment skills gaps. What types of questions do you aim to tackle with your research?
Sure. So like many researchers, I pivoted some of my research program to examining important questions related to the pandemic and the subsequent economic downturn. I was already researching the meatpacking industry before COVID, so studying how rural communities that are uniquely dependent on the industry dovetailed very well into my prior work. The industry is also vitally important to the upper Midwest region as a whole. So I've continued that thread of research since I joined NDSU. In terms of labor demand, I led the first research team to publish peer-reviewed academic research detailing the current labor shortage that's being experienced by the economy more broadly. In that research, we also found evidence that individuals who are not returning to the labor force corresponded with individuals who are likely previously working frontline positions, suggesting that there is some pandemic-related factor that's likely causing the reduction in the labor supply. This directly impacts the type of workers that local businesses are able to recruit within this region specifically, and preliminary research that I've conducted also suggests that the labor shortage might have implications for the elevated prices that we're currently experiencing in the economy more broadly. In terms of skill mismatch, this was an issue that businesses were experiencing even before the pandemic and has only become more pronounced after the corresponding recession. Getting a better sense of what skills are proving difficult for employers to fill is crucial for continued economic growth. And many positions that firms are currently experiencing issues finding skilled workers for, and positions that are expected to also be difficult in the economy moving forward, are high-wage positions. So figuring this out is important for improving efficiency from both sides of the market.
Excellent. So I know that the employment skills gap and issues with retaining a qualified workforce has been a huge issue nationally, but especially in Fargo-Moorhead. And I know this is really important research that you're doing, so could you talk about some of the impacts that your research has on society?
Yeah, so I'll start with the rural economic development that I do. So the experience that the rural parts of the country experience is distinctly different than large metro areas. Economists in our analysis frequently lump everything together, and when we perform a national representative study, which means that the rural story is often lost in the aggregate. So my research aims to isolate the unique experience that the rural communities are having to have a more informed discussion about how to cultivate economic growth in that part of the country. I think the importance of the work that I'm doing regarding the labor market is pretty self-evident given the current headlines that we see in the news on a daily basis. I think this is vital because if businesses can't hire workers with the skill set that they're looking for, that's problematic, but it's also problematic if the workers are not having their needs met. So a holistic view on how to tackle this issue, I think, is important for us to move forward.
This is great, and I especially like your idea of looking at how unique problems are to rural areas in comparison to the rest of the country and how a lot of people lose that. Could you talk a little bit about some of the questions that maybe you want to address in the future?
Yeah, so I think the area of research that I'm most interested in exploring in the next year to 5 years is is getting a better understanding over the current challenges facing the labor market with a specific focus on rural counties in the upper Midwest, but not exclusively. As I alluded to before, even before the pandemic, this was a challenge, and finding workers possessing specific skills is something that is going to be important for making sure that our business community is doing as well as they possibly can. Now, surveys also suggest that workers have reevaluated their priorities after the pandemic, with an observed sharp reduction in the number of individuals participating in the labor market. So I aim to better understand the concerns brought up by both sides of the market and attempt to work towards, as I mentioned before, a holistic solution which is going to help both groups to flourish.
Great. Well, thanks a lot, Thomas, for taking the time to sit down with me and to discuss your research. It's really important work that you're doing, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what you find out in the future.
Thanks so much, John.
Thank you.